Okay. Good morning, students. So today we are seeing the lecture about stomatitis medicamentosa and stomatitis venenata. So first we'll start with stomatitis medicamentosa. This is actually, before I start, I want to tell you that please follow the notes that I had sent yesterday in the WhatsApp group so that it will be easy for you to understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so as I speak, please navigate through the notes. So first we'll see about stomatitis medicamentosa. Um, this is actually one type of adverse drug reaction. If you see adverse drug reaction, all of you would have studied about the side effects and the adverse effects of the different drugs or the medications taken by people. So adverse drug reactions basically are of two types, type A and type B. As the alphabet stands for, A is augmented reactions, which is nothing but, what do you mean by augmented? It automatically means exaggerated or enhanced, increased. So exaggerated response of the drug, enhanced response of the drug, but nevertheless it falls under the category of pharmacological action of the drug. For example, increased bleeding because of warfarin, which is by itself an anticoagulant. Okay, so that is one of the side effects, which is augmented reactions. The second type is bizarre reactions. What do you mean by bizarre? Obviously, bizarre means abnormal or something peculiar. So bizarre reactions are idiosyncratic. Idiosyncratic, the very word means something that we are not able to explain. Okay, that is beyond the realms of explanation. So idiosyncratic, or these reactions are basically immune mediated and they are not related to the pharmacological action of the drug. So keeping this introduction in mind, we'll step into stomatitis medicamentosa. So this term encompasses the allergic reaction of the mucosa to the systemic administration of the drug. Okay, so when a person takes in the drug, okay, or it is injected into him, there are some allergic or immunological reactions happening in the body, especially on the skin and the mucous membranes. Okay, so that's what comprises uh, medicamentosa reactions. If it occurs on the skin, it is called dermatitis medicamentosa, and if it occurs on the mucosa, it is stomatitis medicamentosa. Okay, so any change manifested in the oral mucosa due to allergy or an idiosyncratic reaction or sensitivity to the drug falls under this category. Please follow the notes. These reactions have just spoken about it. Don't include those caused by the pharmacological action or toxicity of the chemical. These are purely allergic reactions occurring particularly in vulnerable individuals like those already with the history of asthma or hay fever. So what is the basic pathogenesis? It could be any of the following. Okay, it could, you all know that the antibody which is involved or implicated in allergic type of reactions is IgE. So IgE mediated reaction, but the drug reacts with IgE already bound to the mast cells, another group of cells which are involved with such reactions. And the second mechanism through which this can occur is antibody binding to the drug already attached to the cell surface. So depending upon the target cell that it is attached to, the symptoms and signs will vary. Next is the third mechanism through which this will occur is circulating antigen antibody complexes. This you would have studied already. You know, the third, the type of immunologic reactions, anaphylaxis, Arthus reaction, serum sickness, etc. So the serum sickness is one category, which is because of these circulating complexes where the antigen combines with antibody and these complexes circulate in the body and thus cause symptoms. And the last method is direct drug and mass, where the drug is circulating and it directly interacts with the mast cell without the role of immunologic mechanisms. So in this case, what will happen is you will have release of chemical mediators of inflammation. All of you would have studied in general pathology in the second year, where we had chemical mediators of inflammation like leukotrienes, interleukins, etc. Fine. Okay, they're also called lymphokines. Now going on to the clinical features. Okay, these the hallmark of stomatitis medicamentosa is it is not sudden like type 1 hypersensitivity reaction. Though it is allergic, they are not sudden like anaphylaxis. Okay, okay, so anaphylaxis, you know, it happens within seconds or minutes on the table. That's what we hear is the patient dies on the table because of anaphylactic reaction. But that doesn't happen here. Usually it takes hours or days to develop, and it is comparatively rarer than the cutaneous counterpart. What is the cutaneous counterpart? The dermatitis medicamentosa. So if at all there is any reaction, any allergic reaction to the drug, it mainly happens in the skin first rather than mucosa. Okay, so the different types of clinical manifestations are, before I step into the different clinical manifestations of stomatitis medicamentosa, generally these drugs have different drug effects like angioedema. You would have heard, isn't it? There's one type of hypersensitivity reaction, medication related osteoradionecrosis, erythema multiforme, gingival hyperplasia, xerostomia, etc. But today we are dealing only with the reactions on the mucous membrane, especially oral mucous membrane. So the different clinical manifestations are stomatitis, ulceration and necrosis, hemorrhage, gingival hyperplasia, pigmentation, altered salivary function, and dysgeusia, which is an altered taste sensation. So these are the general clinical manifestations of stomatitis medicamentosa. Next is lesions. So there are some group of lesions that fall under this category. So the different ways this stomatitis medicamentosa can manifest itself. Okay, the first one is erythema multiforme. So I'll speak about it as I go through each type. So erythema multiforme is the most common manifestation, or most common form of stomatitis medicamentosa. How does it manifest? It has multiple ulcerations and causes extreme pain and discomfort. Usually tongue, palate, gingiva and buccal mucosa are the most commonly involved sites. Okay. Next is anaphylactic stomatitis. The second type is anaphylactic stomatitis. This mainly occurs because of the first mechanism, drug binding to the IgE mast cell complex. IgE, which is already bound to the mast cell, and the drug goes and interacts with it or with this complex. Okay, so most commonly implicated drugs in these cases are penicillin and sulfa drugs. Of course, you would have heard among the masses that most people say, or not most, at least half of them say that I'm allergic to penicillin, I'm allergic to sulfa drugs. So this is the mechanism behind it. So in spite of it, if we go and administer these drugs to them, probably they will manifest such type of anaphylactic stomatitis. So the anaphylactic stomatitis can either occur in an isolated form, that is, it can manifest only on the mucous membrane, or it can occur in combination with the skin lesions, urticarial skin lesions, or anaphylactic signs can also be seen along with this. Anaphylactic signs mainly would be a respiratory distress, vomiting, hoarseness, etc. Fine. Okay, so that it can occur in combination with the other types of manifestations too. Oral lesions occur alone or concomitant with both. Yes, affected mucosa shows diffuse lesions. Like, how does it manifest? Multiple erythema, red spots, and erosion or ulceration in the extreme form. The third is very important, intraoral fixed drug eruptions. So what is unique about fixed drug eruptions? Why does it have fixed in its name? It occurs because of repeated administration of a sensitive drug. For example, when a person is showing some, or he's sensitive to a particular drug, because of the repeated administration of the same drug where the manifestations were not evident in the first time, sometimes what will happen is these manifestations will occur the second time, and it will keep occurring on the same site each time due to local sensitizations of the tissues. That is, the tissues nearby where it is administered will get sensitized, and fixed eruption means skin lesions occurring in the same sites each time due to local sensitization of the tissue. So that is the main reason the word fixed is given in the name of the lesion itself. So oral lesions, localized erythema, edema, and later become vesiculo-ulcerative. Most common site is labial mucosa, and most common drugs implicated in these kind of reactions are barbiturates, salicylates, etc. Fine. Next is the lichenoid drug reactions, which all of you would have heard, of course. I'll just, the next three lesions are almost the same. Lichenoid drug reaction, lupus erythematosus like eruptions, pemphigus like eruptions. So why am I grouping all these three lesions? Because they all behave like their namesakes. What do you mean by namesakes? The lichen planus and lupus erythematosus and pemphigus, which are nothing but vesiculobulous lesions or skin dermatological lesions, okay, which I'm not sure if it has been covered for you already. So these resemble clinically, histologically, and in all manner they represent, or they mimic the primary disease, okay, which is respectively, which is for example, lichenoid drug reaction resembles lichen planus or lichenoid reaction, and pemphigus like eruptions resembles pemphigus, etc. So they resemble the respective lesions in their names. The only thing is it's bilateral and symmetric lesions will occur in these cases, and posterior buccal mucosa and the lateral border of the tongue are the most common sites. Okay, so posterior buccal mucosa and the lateral border of the tongue are the most common sites for these three types of lesions. Okay, so next manifestation is hairy tongue. You would have heard about it, occurs as a complication of antibiotic therapy. Okay, mainly penicillin. So what is it? Actually, it is not a direct allergic reaction of the antibiotic. We cannot say it's because of the systemic administration of antibiotic where it is caused. It is mainly because of the alteration of the oral flora. Because there is alteration of the commensals that are present in the oral flora, there is overgrowth of fungal elements and overgrowth of papillae, and because of this is elongation and heavy staining of the filiform papillae. So vitamin deficiencies also play a role, because whenever there is a vitamin deficiency, there is alteration of the intestinal flora, and you know that whatever change occurs in the bowel or intestines will reflect and it will mirror in the oral cavity. And after antibiotic therapy, lingual papillae, after the end of antibiotic therapy, the lingual papillae desquamate, resulting in smooth, painful, eroded tongue. So that is how hairy tongue is manifested. The picture, please look at the pictures that are given along with the notes. Okay, so histologic picture varies according to the type of reaction that is seen. First is anaphylactic stomatitis. We have non-specific subacute mucositis, inflammatory reaction. And we have a combination of lymphocytes, neutrophils, and eosinophils. In case of intraoral fixed drug eruptions, again, we have a non-specific inflammation along with these cells. We also have spongiosis, exocytosis of the epithelial cells, and vacuolar change in the base layer. Important finding or characteristic finding here is individual cell necrosis of the epithelial cells. Okay, and as already stated, lichenoid drug reaction, lupus erythematosus like eruptions and pemphigus like eruptions, they resemble their primary disease in every manner. Okay, yeah, one important feature here is how to differentiate these lesions from the general vesiculobullous lesions. Okay, so differential diagnosis for these group of lesions of stomatitis medicamentosa is mainly the primary vesiculobullous lesion. Okay, so one method of differentiating these are, for example, indirect immunofluorescence. In case of lichenoid reaction, we have a peculiar pattern that is seen, which is called a string of pearls pattern. As you can see, black and white picture, but still it can be easily felt or easily seen. The string of pearls, you see a white line going through it. Okay, so that's called an annula. If you look directly or closely, we can see a circular annular, annual or annula. The word always means a circle. Okay, complete. That's why the word yearly also means annual, because we come a whole circle. Okay, so annular or circular fluorescence pattern. In indirect immunofluorescence, lichenoid reaction, we have a characteristic pattern called string of pearls. This is because of the fluorescence pattern seen along the cell membrane of the basal cells or the basal layer of cells. And the antibody found here is basal cell cytoplasmic antibody. So this is one way of distinguishing it in higher test, but basically the diagnosis part of these lesions, how to diagnose it. The onus of diagnosis rests on the history taking. Okay, we have to take a thorough medical history, particularly if the patient says that the lesions vanish after discontinuing a particular drug, and whenever the patient starts taking it again or taking them again, the lesions reappear. We can we can definitely give a provisional diagnosis that this is because of a drug reaction, definitely. Okay, so discontinuity and reintroduction of the drug should remove and cause the lesions respectively. Proves which, and we are, through this method we also find out which drug is offensive or which is the offending drug. Let's say a patient is taking a combination of drugs, and if it is difficult to find out which is the causative agent, this is an easy method. Okay, so a thorough medical history should be taken in such cases. And what are the other methods of distinguishing these lesions? So one, we have already seen these lichenoid reaction because of the drug and otherwise. Next is lupus erythematosus. Just listen to this. Okay, lupus erythematosus like eruptions. We have something called serum evaluation of different antibodies. Okay, anti-nuclear antibodies, anti-double standard DNA and antihistones, etc. Or rather antibodies against these. So please take notes here. Okay, fine, I'll just note it down. Lupus erythematosus like eruptions, okay, which we are dealing with here in today's class, they give or they show anti-nuclear antibodies and antibodies against histones. Okay, whereas the primary disease, which is the lupus erythematosus disease, shows anti-nuclear antibodies, antibodies against histones, and antibodies against double-stranded DNA. So that is one extra feature that is seen in lupus erythematosus. Fine. So through serum evaluation, also we can find out the difference between these two lesions. So I repeat, lupus erythematosus like eruption, which falls under the category of stomatitis medicamentosa, shows the serum evaluation of these lesions show positivity or show anti-nuclear antibody and antibodies against histones, while the primary lupus erythematosus disease shows anti-nuclear antibodies, antibodies against histones, and antibodies against double-stranded DNA. But of course, there's a catch here. Certain drugs like infliximab, etc., they also show antibodies against double-stranded DNA. So in case a patient gives you history of such drugs, be careful before interpreting their serum evaluation results. Yes, okay, hope I'm clear. Okay, so with that, we complete. And what is the treatment? Obviously, discontinuity of the offending agent. Antihistamine, because it's an allergic type of reaction, we go for steroids or antihistamines, which relieve the local and sometimes the systemic signs also. Okay, we can also give an adrenaline in severe systemic conditions. Okay, next we move on to stomatitis venenata. So stomatitis, of course, you know that it deals with mucous membrane. So it is also called contact stomatitis. So this is mainly because of the contact of the mucous membrane with the offending agent rather than the systemic administration. This mainly occurs because of direct contact of the mucous membrane with the offending agent. This is a type of contact allergy reaction in which the lesion occurs on the mucous membrane at a localized site due to repeated contact with the causative agent. Okay, I think it is self-explanatory. The causative agents are usually chemical in nature. So what is the pathogenesis behind this? Please follow the notes. The chemical agent or the hapten, okay, is converted into a competent antigen. So the chemical, whatever offending chemical agent is, it is converted into the competent antigen with the help of intraepithelial Langerhans cells. This is then presented to the T lymphocytes for sensitization, and then this combination is presented to the IgE, okay, and which is then produced with specific receptor IgE, T lymphocyte sensitization, Langerhans cells. All these cells are involved in this pathogenesis, and when there is an antigenic challenge for the second and the subsequent times, local lymphocytes, because T lymphocytes have already sensitized themselves to the antigen, okay, they know what the offending antigen is. So when the as already stated, this is mainly because of repeated contact with the chemical, isn't it? Repeated contact with the antigen. So as the T lymphocytes are already sensitized for the antigen, so when the antigenic challenge is presented for the second or the subsequent times, local lymphocytes secrete lymphokines, which are already, as I already told you, they are the chemical mediators of inflammation and cause the characteristic signs and symptoms. Okay, so there are very, as soon as I told you in the introduction that this is mainly caused because of the contact of the chemical with the mucous membrane, the immediate material or factor that should come into our minds is a toothpaste, which often we, or a toothpaste or any type of a food that we repeatedly eat. So the list of materials that may cause stomatitis venenata, like dental or cosmetic preparations, example dentifrices, the toothpaste, okay, mouthwashes, powder, denture powders, cosmetics like lipsticks, candies that we often repeatedly use. Okay, so the repetitive usage of repetitive local usage, those should be the keywords, okay, which cause the stomatitis venenata. Next is dental materials like rubber dam, metal alloys, or your restorative materials, acrylic dentures, etc. Dental therapeutic agents like alcohols, antibiotics, all the medical combinations, okay, procaine, phenols, etc. So what are the clinical manifestations? Clinical manifestations, okay. Please see the first line. Though the oral cavity encounters a wide variety of antigens day in and day out every minute, compared to its cutaneous counterpart, which is the dermatitis venenata, stomatitis venenata is quite rare. Just like we had dermatitis medicamentosa being the cutaneous counterpart for stomatitis medicamentosa, we here have dermatitis venenata, okay, the cutaneous counterpart. Compared to the skin lesions, oral contact stomatitis is, oral lesions are quite rarer. Why is that? It's mainly because of the following reasons. Okay, the oral cavity is less sensitive than the skin, and the shorter period of contact in the oral cavity. Whatever chemical we use in the mouth, okay, like toothpaste, we don't keep harboring the chemical in the mouth. Okay, we quickly swish it out of the mouth or we swallow it. So because of this, we have a very shorter period of contact in the oral cavity. Third, very important, which always comes for a rescue, the diluting effect of saliva. Okay, saliva keeps washing and it quickly helps in quick removal of the chemical agent. Okay, and rapid removal and absorption of antigens due to anatomy of the oral mucosa. What does this line mean? That mainly means that because of the decreased keratinization of oral mucous membrane compared to the skin, okay, makes hapten binding more difficult. Okay, and we have our mucous membrane is more slimy rather than keratinized compared to the skin. Okay, that's more important. Relatively less keratinized. And second anatomical variation that we have is increased vascularity. Of course, you know that oral mucosa bleeds more readily than the skin. So there is increased vascularity, which removes any antigen very, very quickly. Okay, very quickly. And there is low density. And the last point is low density of, we have already seen that Langerhans cells and T lymphocytes are implicated in all such reactions. So low density of Langerhans cells and T lymphocytes, so lower chances of antigen recognition. Fine. Next is the signs and symptoms, the mucous acute signs. So as soon as the contact occurs, what happens? So the mucosa becomes edematous, inflamed, the typical acute signs, smooth and shiny, and bright red gingiva, and buccal mucosa, vesicles, erosion, ulceration, the later stage, burning, stinging, tingling sensations, etc. Chronic signs, they become edema. That is when the mucosa has been in contact with the antigenic agent for quite some time. Okay, it may appear edematous, white or hyperkeratotic, erosion, dryness, and cracking of lips. So generally, acute signs are red, chronic signs are white in color. Remember that, okay, because of chronic contact. Here, something that to be noted is, for example, if these because of some agents that are in contact with both, okay, if skin lesions occur first, oral may not be there at all. Okay, skin manifests itself first, and if the oral lesions occur first, skin lesions may show in future. Okay, there may be a delayed manifestation of skin lesions. Yes. Okay, so the histopathology. Before we move on to histopathology, generally females are more affected than males, of course, because of usage of cosmetics. And in the mouth, if you see local presentation, say a single point of ulcer or erosion, we can guess that it is because of a single allergen or isolated material like dental material, dental restoration, metal, etc., present in that particular point of contact. But if the lesions are more diffuse, if they are more widespread, we can expect a greater trigger like food or drink, etc. That is, say if the manifestation of these stomatitis venereata is a single point or a single small localized area in the mouth, it is probably because of an isolated antigen. Okay, as I told you, maybe the amalgam is placed on that particular site. Yes, okay, any other dental restoration is placed on that particular area or near in the proximity of that, but in the lesion proximity. Whereas if it is more diffuse and widespread, we can expect a greater trigger where the person eats or drinks something constantly, because of which there is a widespread involvement of the oral cavity. Fine. Okay, so remember, the acute lesions are usually red, chronic are usually white, and rarely the clinical manifestation will be an orolingual paresthesia. Okay, rare. It is of course rare. And we have whenever it occurs in lips, it mimics allergic cheilitis. Okay, allergic cheilitis, where in chronic cheilitis, it's mainly because of the local cheilitis presentation mainly occurs because of local irritation like usage of lipsticks or anything, or chronic lip smacking. Okay, and the allergic reaction is mainly because of medication and lipsticks. Okay, so chronic cheilitis, the most common cause would be chronic lip licking or lip smacking and local irritation, but closely followed by allergic cheilitis, which is because of lipsticks, toothpaste, etc., sunscreen, lotions, etc. Fine. Okay, so diagnosis. Acute is quite easy. Okay, diagnosing an acute stomatitis case is quite easier when compared to the chronic one, because it occurs within 30 minutes, few minutes to 1 hour. Okay, after the contact with the offending agent. And chronic lesions are more difficult. Thorough history taking has to be done in such cases. Okay. So how do you diagnose? A patch test? A skin patch test can be done, but if a skin patch test is negative, but oral lesions are really positive, we can go for a direct mucosal testing where in aura base or rubber cup, a small amount of the suspected agent can be placed on the mucous membrane directly. Fine. So treatment is, of course, discontinuing the offending agent. And I have given you some examples of contact stomatitis. First, acrylic denture. True acrylic sensitivity is rare and can be confirmed by patch test. That is, very rarely patients manifest acrylic sensitivity. A direct allergy to acrylic is quite rarer, and it is if at all it occurs, it's mainly because of the monomer. The main culprit is the monomer in the resin, okay, and occurs because of the incomplete polymerization of the acrylic. But otherwise, the changes manifested in acrylic dentures are mainly because of the ill-fitting dentures and oral candidal infections rather than the acrylic content in the dentures. Okay, but the picture that I have pasted or I have put there is mainly because of the true acrylic sensitivity. And the next picture is dentifrices allergy, especially the cinnamon part. You see, whenever we have toothpaste or mouthwashes, it's the flavoring agent that is the main cause of such reactions. Okay, cinnamon containing paste, mouthwashes, etc., can cause such a clinical manifestations. We also have the histological picture side by side. The arrow marks in the histology indicate perivascular lymphoid aggregates or perivascular chronic inflammation, okay, which will be dealt with later. And the third picture is dental restorative material lichenoid reaction because of amalgam. Okay, example is amalgam, the clinical and the histology. The histology resembles a typical lichenoid reaction like histology. Okay, so with that, we complete stomatitis venenata. So if there's any doubt, we can always get them clarified during the WhatsApp chat. So please go through this audio along with the notes. I'll meet you at 10 o'clock. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.